right, the next kitchen math terms that we're going to talk about is the relationship between tablespoons and cups, okay? And when we are looking at how those two things are equal, we've already looked at how teaspoons and tablespoons are related. So we already know that a tablespoon is bigger than a teaspoon, but admittedly, both of those measurements are still quite small in the grand scheme of everything that we're going to make in the kitchen. They're both measuring spoon amounts, and so they're both pretty tiny. But we do have cups that we can use to measure a lot of different things within the kitchen. And so when we look at one cup is going to be equal to 16 tablespoons. And unfortunately, I don't have a really fun, easy peasy memory trick for us to remember. We just have to remember that 1 cup is equal to 16 tablespoons. And so you'll see with this measurement, 1 cup gets a lot bigger than our tablespoons. And this is for anything, whether it's a cup of water is 16 tablespoons, a cup of flour is 16 tablespoons. All of those things are going to be equal to 16 tablespoons. But as we've done kind of with our last couple of equivalents, we also need to take a look at multiplying, and then we're also going to throw some fractions in for this problem as well. So let's do one quick practice problem first of multiplication. So if I know that 1 whole cup is 16 tablespoons, I also know that 2 cups is how many tablespoons? Okay. The correct answer here should be 32. So 1 plus 1 or 1 times 2 is 2. So 16 plus 16 or 16 times 2 is 32. Now that's a pretty big number, I'll admit, but that's about as big as our numbers are going to get when we're taking a look at kitchen math. So I believe that you guys can do that. All right. So now let's kind of ignore that for a minute, because in the kitchen, we do use a lot of fractions. Now, the good news is that we don't use all the fractions in the world. When we're cooking, we use whole numbers, of course. We can use 1s or 2, 3, whatever. We also use halves, okay? We use 1/4, okay, or multiples of that. So we may use 3/4 of something. And we also use 1/3, okay, or 2/3, okay? Those are really the only fractions that you're ever going to see on a recipe and need to measure out. And actually for kitchen math, 1/3 is not exactly super nice because we can't divide 16 by 3. So you won't actually really even see 1/3 in our kitchen math. You just may see it ask you to measure 1/3 of a cup of something on your recipe. So let's do some practice math with our fractions now instead. So I have 1 whole cup is equal to 16 tablespoons. And I want to know how many tablespoons are in a half of a cup. I'm going to talk you through this first one first, and then I'll throw another practice problem at you. When we look at a fraction, we're really creating a division problem. So 1/2 is the same as saying 1 divided by 2. And so if we're taking 1 and we're dividing it by 2 to get to 1/2, on the other side of our equation, we also need to divide by 2. And 16 divided by 2 is 8. Okay? So now let's take a little practice here and take a look at, here we go, 1/4 of a cup. I'll slide this screen back up. So we know that 1 cup is 16 tablespoons. So if a whole cup is 16, 1/4 of a cup would be how many tablespoons? All right, well, first we need to remember that over here, 1/4 is the same thing as saying 1 divided by 4. And so on this side of our equation, we need to do 16 divided by 4, okay? If division scares us, remember that 16 divided by 4 equals what? Is the same thing as saying 4 times what equals 16. So you can flip this division problem and turn it into a multiplication problem if that's easier for you to solve. So 4 times what equals 16? That would be the number 4. As with our teaspoons and tablespoons that we went over already, You can do this math just by knowing this piece of information right here. And so while, of course, you could have written down all of these other things that we've just gone through, really all you needed was to know that 1 whole cup is 16 tablespoons, and then you did some math to be able to figure out all of the other things that we did here on this page.